Before I begin with the main topic at hand, I'd like to go over the poll that I had done on my YouTube channel. Regarding videos where I just do rants in front of gameplay content without any editing, 9% of you actually took issue with it. When I made this poll, I was looking for that 9% that wanted to tell me that I should stop making these videos. But I make these videos because I want to get the message out as quick as possible and as stylistically as possible. But I think I am cutting way too many corners, so I gotta compromise. Gameplay footage and my commentary is going to stay, but I'm going to add more editing to these gameplay footages, and I'm also not going to stop making those higher production value videos that I love to do on my channel. It's very rewarding when I drop one of those big videos. And actually, you guys have something coming up pretty soon in April, so stay tuned for that. Today, on the other hand, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite bands of all times, the Dead Kennedys. Unfortunately, this is not a video where I'm going to give you a retrospective from a nostalgic standpoint. Rather, this is a heartbreaking message that I have to deliver to my audience. And I say that because I do genuinely care about the punk rock scene, and I want to see it flourish. But I don't think that the way that it is currently going right now is sustainable. Even though I am speaking to the crowd here, I'm going to provide a background of the Dead Kennedys anyway.
So this song is dedicated to Diane Banker Butt Liquor Margaret Thatcher Feinstein, dragon lady with no fucking heart.
This band was founded in 1978 by East Bay Ray and Jello Biafra. It is needless to say that they are by far one of the most influential punk rock bands in the entire history of the punk rock subculture. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. The Dead Kennedys' overall instrumentation, as well as Jello Biafra's hard-hitting political lyrics, really did set the standard for some of the most intrinsic values all throughout the punk rock world. And of course, Jello Biafra is no deity. He is not necessarily somebody who I would call perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It would be foolish of me to gloss over Jello Biafra's political work as running for the mayor of San Francisco in the 1970s. Specifically against Diane Feinstein, and particularly after the killing of Harvey Milk at the hands of ex-police officer Dan White.
At any rate, what we should do is erect statues of Dan White at convenient locations throughout the city, and let the Parks Department sell eggs, rocks, and tomatoes to throw at them.
Jello Biafra has also run for president against Ralph Nader in the Green Party. Although Jello Biafra has never won any elections, he has maintained a strong influence in the punk rock world. But in the late 1990s, the other Dead Kennedys members sued Jello Biafra and Alternative Tentacles for fraud. You see, it was discovered that Alternative Tentacles Records, which is Jello Biafra's record label, were paying the Dead Kennedys, including Jello himself, less in CD sales than any other band in the Alternative Tentacles band catalog. This led to the estranged Dead Kennedys members parting ways from Alternative Tentacles Records and Jello Biafra. Jello himself has maintained that this is an accounting error on behalf of Alternative Tentacles Records. I bring this up because while this case in particular brings up the necessity to hold Jello Biafra accountable for how Alternative Tentacles Records inadequately paid his bandmates, I think that dynamic is disgusting. But it also sets a precedent for how the Dead Kennedys members wanted to use their own likeness, and particularly Jello Biafra's likeness and his lyrics, for profit. You see, they do own the rights to their music, but Jello Biafra had to hand over the rights to the bandmates, and Jello Biafra, having been an essential founding member of the band, literally the face of the band, literally the icon of the band, no longer retains any ownership of his own music. This is not a defense of Jello Biafra by any stretch, let alone Alternative Tentacles Records, but given that Bedtime for Democracy that was released in 1986 was their last studio release ever, that means the remaining members of the Dead Kennedys are sort of in a fossilized cover band state. And so functionally as a band, all they do is sell merch and play shows. They don't write new material, they don't have new songs, they don't have new albums, no new releases, just shows and merch. And that's fine. Like, obviously they were able to prove in court that Jello Biafra and Alternative Tentacles Records, whether intentionally or not, screwed over those remaining band members. But Jello Biafra and his lyrics in particular were setting a standard for what values the punk rock world should have, especially since it is a subculture of outcasts and black sheep. Punks understand that this sense of unity, especially of outcasts and black sheep, is incredibly sacred. Thus, the dire necessity of Nazi punks fuck off.
This is a song that a lot of people are real pissed off at us about. We ain't preaching, but this is our opinion. Everybody's got a right to free speech. And this song is about the fucking rednecks and the fucking jocks who bring in their bullshit macho attitudes to these shows, try to wreck them by starting fights, spreading around their bullshit racist attitudes. If you really like a swastika so much, go join the Klan like your parents. If you're no different from your parents, then what are you rebelling against anyway? You're fitting in. Nazi redneck assholes, fuck off!
This song is an aggressive anthem, a massive middle finger to white supremacy. It is not mistaking anything except directly white supremacists who try to wiggle their way into the punk rock world. Once you let a Nazi into a punk scene, it becomes a Nazi punk scene. Because then extermination becomes the norm. It becomes an acceptable idea that we can just use literal state violence to terrorize your fellow punks. So that's what the song is for, a blatant fuck you to Nazis. And the remaining Dead Kennedys members are very aware of how popular this song is in punk rock circles. They are selling this poorly designed t-shirt for $36.80 because they think you'll just drink that right up like a baby with a formula bottle laced with vodka. But again, they can do that. I mean, like a t-shirt for $40 fucking dollars?
These guys don't appreciate I'm broke.
But that alone is not what I'm here to raise a big stink about. I'm here to talk more about a certain individual by the name of Cameron Collins. Cameron Collins, if you don't know, is the founder of a music festival called Punk in the Park. Some of the other bands that were going to be on this billing were The Exploited, The Queers, Screeching Weasel, Murphy's Law, Agnostic Front, The Last Gang, Naked Aggression, Manic Hispanic, Necromantics, Leftover Crack, CKY, Street Dogs, Ocho Calacas, and with The Addicts headlining along with, you guessed it, the Dead Kennedys. What a fucking lineup. I would pay a lot of money to go see something like that. I know that I made a video about Leftover Crack 2 years ago that was basically talking shit about them, but I've seen Leftover Crack live multiple times and I love their music. The Addicts is another huge favorite of mine. I just have a soft spot in my heart for that band. And I really do think that Street Dogs is such an underrated punk band. Like, y'all gotta go look up their music. They're so fucking good. And I get very choked up and nostalgic for Screeching Weasel, like, no joke. So a lot of these bands really fucking matter to me. And if there's gonna be like a ska-core band like Ocho Calacas on the fucking bill, I mean, sign me up. Oh, it looks like, according to the Federal Election Commission, Cameron Collins donated to the Donald Trump campaign in 2024 along with other far-right causes. All of this was discovered in the summer of 2025, to which the Punk in the Park Instagram account made a post pretty much doubling down on the sentiment of donating to the Donald Trump administration, with such memorable quotes as, "We live in a two-party system, and unfortunately you must choose based on a few important issues that resonate with you. For me, Those issues were the promise to end wars and refrain from entering new international conflicts, lowering taxes, and stopping government overreach. Trump has used state violence both in the United States and outside of the United States to terrorize the entire fucking world. And considering that Donald Trump just entered into a war with Iran, kidnapped a world leader, starving the Cuban people, and accepting other donations besides from brouhaha that specifically want Donald Trump to gentrify Gaza after Benjamin Netanyahu completes his fucking genocide, is any of what you're looking at on screen punk rock? I don't fucking think so. But I want you to keep in mind the date in which this particular post was made, July 23rd, 2025. I bring this up because this fact was not publicly known at a certain point. So you might think it's a little weird that Pennywise of all bands, the band that literally did the song Fuck Authority, would be playing a show in the same month that Donald Trump got elected under the brouhaha Punk in the Park banner. So I think that they can be forgiven for not knowing that the person that they are playing a show for and essentially making money for donated to the Donald Trump administration. We can give them the benefit of the... God damn it! And wait a minute, Propagandhi? We Are the Union? The Aquabats? Mad Caddies? The Queers? Catbite? The Casualties? Bad Religion? Dropkick Murphys?
Alright, let's make this one special because this will be the final Punk in the Park performance ever for the Dropkick Murphys, so let's make it a good one, shall we? I just want to say, America's a free country. You're free, allegedly. You're free to vote and do as you wish. But in our opinion, if you're coming under the punk rock banner and you're voting for that fucking guy and you're supporting that fucking the shit that they're doing, you've twisted your mind into knots. The far right ain't the new punk. You heard it here first.
I'm not just naming random bands here. These bands have at one point or another expressed a disdain against authority, against Donald Trump's administration, towards the police state.
Yeah, you hope maybe people would feel inspiration to do something. I guess on the other hand, it's like everything else we're all doing, it's totally inadequate, for what really should be happening. But I mean, everybody has so much to lose in the society where we have so many comforts and entertainment systems and stuff. Most people, including ourselves, at this point are not willing to do what really has to be done.
Well, this definitely ain't it.
And these shows happened on July 18, 19, and 20, around the same time that this controversy was boiling up. Clearly the bandmates of all of these bands would have picked up some buzz by now. We Are the Union in 2024 made a specific Instagram post where the lead singer, who is transgender, had to go through her paperwork, making sure that her passport is safe, because in US states right now, like in the state of Kansas, trans people have to surrender their ID to the United States government if they have changed their gender marker at all. The lead singer of We Are the Union, the same band that is on the very bill in which they are playing for a literal Trump supporter, has been actually impacted by the Trump administration, the literal result of the very election in which brouhaha donated to the Donald Trump campaign, which is absolutely disgusting. But with the benefit of hindsight, maybe they did not know. Maybe they signed onto a contract and they found out too late. That brings us to 2026 Punk in the Park lineup. All of these bands, whether they are returning acts or they are just showing up for the first time, have to be very well aware of who they are signing up with. Especially Leftover Crack, who literally has a song about shooting homophobes. But you're still gonna play a show for a Trump supporter? And not even just a passive Trump supporter, but a Trump donor. As much as I am a massive fan of Leftover Crack's music, I think that all of the people who berated me and ratioed me in my leftover crack video, especially this chick who left a really long comment which I did not read in full because it's way too fucking long, owe me an apology. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the Dead Kennedys. And the Dead Kennedys were fucking headlining this show. But as the controversies brewed, we had more and more bands like Naked Aggression dropping out of the lineup. Some were slow, like The Addicts and Ultra Colacus. Really, guys? The Dead Kennedys, on the other hand, had a very different response. We've become aware that the owner of Brouhaha Productions, the company behind Punk in the Park, made financial contributions in support of the Trump administration. Our first reaction was to cancel our upcoming appearances. However, we do not feel it would be fair to our supporters who have already purchased tickets and made plans to attend these shows. Dead Kennedys have always stood firmly against authoritarianism, racism, and fascism. That has not changed. After these scheduled appearances, we will not be participating in future Punk in the Park events.
You know, whenever you're exposed to advertising in this country, you realize all over again that America's leading industry is still the manufacture, distribution, packaging, and marketing of bullshit.
I do not buy this explanation. The Dead Kennedys can just easily book shows nearby Punk in the Park events and tell their fans to get refunds so that they can go see the Dead Kennedys in those cool local venues. And you know what? It doesn't even fucking matter anyway, because Brouhaha shut down Punk in the Park for the year of 2026, essentially calling what people discovered about the Brouhaha financial contribution to the Trump administration a circumstance. So this idea that the Dead Kennedys stayed on the lineup so that they can appease their fans sounds like a public relations repair job, and ultimately disingenuous. This is why I brought up the song Nazi Punks Fuck Off at the beginning of the video, because it is so important that we uphold these values and we don't make a mockery of them. On the Dead Kennedys website, they are selling a vinyl that is a single of Nazi Punks Fuck Off. You have to keep in mind that Nazi Punks Fuck Off is 1 minute long, and they are selling this song on vinyl with an incredibly uninspired album cover for $22.06. And again, this is because they know that this song that was written by Jello Biafra matters immensely to punks worldwide. The remaining members of the Dead Kennedys are mocking this song. And when they're making statements like, Dead Kennedys have always stood firmly against authoritarianism, racism, and fascism, I don't know, it rings kind of fucking hollow if you ask me. And that really does go for all of the other bands like Ultra Colacus, which according to iceout.org, this is what Southern California's ICE activity looks like the day that I'm making this video. These guys are from Orange County, and as somebody who has frequented all throughout ska and punk circles in Los Angeles, these guys are a big deal in the area. They're very influential, so it's just really shameful to see that they would be on this lineup and be incredibly slow to drop out. Now, I don't want to give this impression that I'm here to cancel these bands. So-called cancel culture is a label that people who do bad things apply to society when society has deemed what they have done to be a bad thing. And I think donating to the Trump administration is a bad thing. The fact that transgender people have to surrender their driver's license to the United States government, that's a literal Nazi thing. In Nazi Germany, among many other pieces of anti-Jewish legislation, one 1938 piece of anti-Jewish legislation required Jews to sell their automobiles to non-Jews, and they eventually lost their rights to a driver's license. And the Dead Kennedys, Leftover Crack, The Addicts, Street Dogs, Screeching Weasel, all crossed the fucking picket line to support a man who paid Jeffrey Epstein's literal best friend. But cancel culture, that's the problem. Yeah, okay. Anyway, I'm not here to specifically cancel these bands. And I'm also not encouraging you to no longer listen to them or to remove the patches from your jacket or whatever. Because if I was asking you to do that, I would have already had you do that for Rancid decades ago. But rather, I think what you as punk fans should do is continue to support underground punk music shows. Local punk scenes are by no means perfect, and they tend to also foster a lot of the same creeps that we had just gone over throughout this video. After all, that's where all of these bands tend to get their original footing from. But there's a pretty good chance that the person who is organizing a backyard show didn't make a financial contribution to Donald Trump's electoral campaign. If anything, they probably just dropped some money on weed before the show so they can pregame. And, bonus points if they want to share. And of course, it should be stated that no punk scene is like totally left-wing or anything like that. There are plenty of apolitical punk scenes and apolitical punks and apolitical punk bands, so on and so forth. But you are seldom gonna find a local punk band or a local punk scene that are either Nazis themselves or sympathetic to Nazis without being challenged by the broader punk scene. Speaking from my own anecdotes, I know people whom I have partied with before who later joined the Proud Boys, and they were not ever allowed back in the scene because obviously people are not interested in listening to your long-winded rants about the decline of Western chauvinism or whatever. But the thing is that we need to maintain a sense of revolutionary optimism and a very strong bullshit detector. Because what makes punk scenes thrive is when you are going to those other local shows and you're supporting those other local bands. These bands have spent hours, weeks, years learning their instruments, upgrading their music gear, spending very real time and money that they probably can't realistically afford on studio time and music engineers to get music out. Or if they're, real like that, they'll probably be recording all of that themselves to varying results. And that's pretty much that DIY ethic that you keep hearing about throughout the punk world. Back in the day, you didn't put your band on fucking Westerman Music Agency. No, you did shit yourself. You made your own flyers. You posted them all over town. You made your own patches and pins and CDs and records. Because musicians who chase that dream, they're passionate and they're gonna do it against all odds. Especially in this capitalist system that more than does not support the arts, let alone healthcare for all, or housing for all, or basic human rights. And another thing I want to say is that if we want to still go to these shows where these big legendary punk bands are playing these massive arenas, I think that these punk bands kind of owe it to the rest of the punk scene to be supporting their local underground acts. Like the Addicts, who I saw play a show with another punk band called Poor Ignorant Nuisance, or otherwise known as The Pins. If these bands seriously want us to pay these goddamn stadium arenas Ticketmaster ass prices for live music that you can go enjoy for free under an interstate bridge, then they need to humble themselves. And that goes for the Dead Kennedys too. I don't feel like I am out of line in my criticism here. The Dead Kennedys, although they are a band that I owe so much of my musical influence to, they're not gods, for crying out loud. And anybody who treats them as gods, you're kind of fucking pathetic. And I think what makes it even shadier about this whole thing is that when the Dead Kennedys made that post telling us all that they're still playing Punk in the Park, they turned off the comments because they knew that those comments were gonna look like this one. The dead Kennedys in 2026 are insecure of their own fans. Because the fans will see posts like this where they sell shitty fucking merchandise, not even trying to make it look good, and the fans are just gonna call it out for what it is. Bullshit.
That is what's known as being stunningly full of shit.
But I really like how Jello Biafra responded to all of this. They're taking the money and then pulling out? The real dead Kennedys would never let this happen in the first place. One more sordid reason I don't ever want to play with them again. And like I said, I'm not defending Jello Biafra and Alternative Tentacle's treatment of the other Dead Kennedys bandmates. But there is a critical lack of self-awareness that comes with people who don't truly understand the magnitude of their own legacy. Because the Dead Kennedys, especially in their actions, are disrespecting the punk rock movement, the very base that brought them to the legacy that they hold in the first place. People often revere rock stars as people who are innovators, and while that is true that musicians are incredibly innovative, it is often the music scene that create the culture and the community that allow these incredibly talented musicians to hold the influence worldwide in the first place. And the Dead Kennedys, whether you consider them the true Dead Kennedys or just a cover band, they need to recognize that, and I do not believe that they do. In the meantime, I encourage all of my viewers to support your local underground punk scene. Buy CDs and patches and stickers from your local punk bands, help pay for their gas if you're gonna organize a show for a band that has to drive a long way. Maybe give a band that's touring a place to sleep at night. Maybe offer a bandmate a ride to practice. And don't just support the bands, also support artists, people who make zines, artwork, and specifically artwork that are designed for the bands. Yes, also fucking pay the people you commission. There are endless ways you can support your local music scene, and I probably am not scratching the surface. You can feel free to comment if I'm missing anything. But ultimately, those bigger bands, they need to stop acting like this is a competition if they want to call themselves punks. Because punks, we help each other. We are a community. And if they want to call themselves punks, they have to be part of the fucking community. And more importantly, they need to be consistent on their fucking principles. Not just in the songs that they write or the merch that they make, but most importantly, their own fucking actions. And that means not making a fucking deal with a fucking Nazi. Especially if you have a song that's called Nazi Punks Fuck Off.